Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call once again. So today we are very fortunate to have His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj to enlighten us on the topic Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, verse 10. So I will like to hand over the call to Tiffany Mataji for the short introduction of Maharaj. So Mataji, please take over the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I believe it's Flavia who's doing the introduction this morning.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji tomorrow, not today. Hari Bol.
Hare
This is Flavia Mataji. I'm supposed to do the introduction on
tomorrow.
Saturday.
Mataji, your turn is tomorrow, please.
Ah, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
No. Yeah, Tiffany Mataji, you go ahead with the introduction. Okay?
We're ready to go.
Oh,
Here.
okay.
Yeah, okay, Mataji. We will read the verse now. No introduction.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving a valuable association and time. So now I would like to hand over the call to you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Shrimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharini Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pasyatya De Satarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So put the verse on the board. Yes, okay. And we need maybe one or two volunteers to read the purport. And the purport is quite lengthy, so somebody can come through, but not now, not yet. We'll go back. Where you going? Yeah, just keep that up. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kim Jamabhistribhir Vedham Sakrava Savatra Yagnikai Karmabhir Vatrayam Proktai Umsavi Vibhuddhasyasa. Translation. A civilized human being has three births. The first birth is by a pure father and mother, and this birth is by semen. The next birth takes place when one is initiated by the spiritual master, and this birth is called Savitra. The third birth, called Yagnika, takes place when one is given the opportunity to worship Lord Vishnu. Despite the opportunities for attaining such births, even if one gets the lifespan of a demigod, if one does not actually engage in the service of the Lord, everything is useless. Similarly, one's activities may be mundane or spiritual, but they're useless if they are not meant for satisfying the Lord. So a nice, clear reader who knows Sanskrit also. Somebody who can chant the Sanskrit along with the verse, along with the purport. Okay, someone read?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, Padma Sati Mataji, you raise hand, right?
Yes, Mataji. Should I read all the purport or should I
No,
stop it
you can read until the next verse.
first
So,
paragraph? Okay, Mataji. The word Saukra Janma means taking birth by seminal discharge. Animals can take their birth in this way too. However, a human being can be reformed from the Saukra Janma as recommended in the Vedic civilization. Before the birth takes place or before father and mother unite, there is a ceremony called Gharbadana Samskara, which must be adopted. This Gharbadana Samskara is especially recommended for higher castes, especially the Brahmana caste. It is said in the Shastras that if the Gharbadana Samskar is not practiced among the higher caste, the entire family becomes Shudra. It is also stated that in this age of Kali, everyone is Shudra due to the absence of Gharbadana Samskara. This is the Vedic system. According to Pancharatrika system, however, even though everyone is a Shudra, due to the absence of Gharbadana Samskara, if a person has but a little tendency to become Krishna consciousness, he could be given the chance to elevate himself to the transcendental platform of devotional service. Our Krishna consciousness movement adopts this Pancharatrika Vidhi as advised by Sri Sanatana Goswami, who says, Yata kanchanatam yati kamshyam rasa vidhanatha tata diksha vidhanena vijatvam jayate nrinam. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Neena Mataji can start. Mataji, you raised hand.
Okay. As bell metal, when mixed with mercury, is transformed to gold, a person, even though not golden pure, can be transformed into Brahmana or Dvija simply by the initiation process. It's in Hari Bhakti Vilasa 2.12. Thus, if one is initiated by a proper person, he can be accepted as twice born immediately. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore offer the student his first initiation and allow him to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. By chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra regularly and following the regulative principles, one becomes qualified to be initiated as a Brahmana, because unless one is a qualified Brahmana, he cannot be allowed to worship Lord Vishnu. This is called Yagnika Janma. In our Krishna Consciousness Society, unless one is twice initiated, first by chanting Hare Krishna, second by the Gayatri Mantra, he's not allowed to enter the kitchen or deity room to execute duties. However, when one is elevated to the platform on which he can worship the deity, the previous birth does not matter. Chandalo hi dvija shrishto Hari Bhakti Prayayana Hari Bhakti Vishnascha Dvijopi Swapachandanam Chanda Swapachadmaha. Should I continue or somebody else would raise hand?
please continue until like Prahlad Maharaj is said.
Okay. Even if one is born in the family of a Chandala, if one engages in the devotional service of the Lord, he becomes the best of the Brahmanas. But even a Brahmana who is devoid of devotional service is on the level of the lowest dog eater. If a person is advanced in devotional service, it does not matter whether he was born in a Chandala family. He becomes purified, as Sri Prahlad Maharaja said, Vipradvishad Gunayuto Arvinda Nabha Pada Rabinda Vimukha Chwapacham Varishtam. It's in Bhagavatam 7.9.10. Hare Krishna.
Tipani Mataji, you could name.
Even if one is a Brahmana and is qualified with all the Brahminical qualifications, he is considered degraded if he is averse to worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if a person is attached to the service of the Lord, he becomes glorified, even if he is born in a Chandala family. Indeed, such a Chandala can deliver not only himself, but all his family predecessors. Without devotional service, even a proud Brahmana cannot deliver himself, and what to speak of his family. In many instances in the Shastras, it is seen that even a Brahmana has become a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, Lecha, and non-Brahmana. And there are many instances of one being born a Kshatriya or Vaishya, or even lower, and in the 18th year, attaining elevation to the Brahminical platform by the process of initiation. Therefore, Narada Muni says, Yasya lakshanam proktam pumsho varna bivyajakam yaranyatrapi drishyeta tate naivana tenaiva virnirdishet. And that is from Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, verse 35. Should I continue, Mataji?
Continue.
Okay. It is not a fact that because one is born in a Brahmana family, he is automatically a Brahmana. He has a better chance to become a Brahmana, but unless he meets all the Brahminical qualifications, he cannot be accepted as such. On the other hand, if the Brahminical qualifications are found in the person of a Shudra, he should immediately be accepted as a Brahmana. To substantiate this, there are many quotations from Bhagavatam, Mahabharat, Bharadwaja Samhita, and the Pancharatra, as well as many other scriptures. As far as the duration of life of the demigods concerning Lord Brahma, it is said, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyat Brahmano Vidu Ratram Yuga Sahasrantam Tehoratra Vidojana. Bhagavad Gita 8:17.
Keep going.
The duration of one day of Brahma is 1,000 times greater than the 4 yugas, aggregating 4,320,000 years. And Brahma's night is of the same duration. Brahma lives for 100 years of such days and nights. The word Vibhudaisha indicates that even if one gets a long lifespan, his lifespan is useless if he is not a devotee. A living entity is the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord, and unless he comes to the platform of devotional service, his lifespan, good birth, glorious activities, and everything else are null and void.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Vastyathyade Statarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this verse, you can keep the translation up on the screen, please. This verse is very much equipped to clear off a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings about spiritual life, about position within society. Here it mentions in the translation that a civilized human being, now the word civilized has a very important part in giving the definition of these 3 types of verse. Because unless one comes to the platform of accepting the bona fide spiritual master, he has not reached the human form of life. This is mentioned in the Shastras. Therefore, the scriptures say, Tad vigyartam eva abigatsche. Abigatsche is a it's a word that means must. One has to understand that just simply by taking birth doesn't qualify one to become categorized as a human being. What is the actual understanding? Is that one understands what is the actual goal of human life. And the goal of human life is first stated in the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasa means to inquire. Now, in the human form of life, inquire into the area to understand what is the purpose of life. And the purpose of life is to make a solution to all problems of life and to attain our actual natural position as a supreme spiritual being. I mean, a spiritual being supreme from everything else. In other words, everything mundane or everything ordinary. So these three births, of course, the first birth everyone gets a mother and father. So in one verse in the Shastras, it says, in every birth, one gets a mother and a father. It doesn't matter what species of life that comes with animals and other forms of life. They also have mothers and fathers. But that doesn't qualify one for actual success in life. What qualifies one for success in life is the second birth, and that is mentioned here, that one has to take shelter of an initiation from Krishna's representative, his empowered representative, the bona fide spiritual master. And as this verse mentions, that there are two phases to that connection. One is Harinama Initiation, and one is called Upanaya, or Diksha, initiation, and that is one of these samskaras. Nowadays, it mentions also in the purport that Kalo Sudra Sambhavan. Why is it say that everyone in this age is born in Sudra? Everyone is born in Sudra. Because people don't follow the samskaras, that's why. There are 16 samskaras. Samskaras means passages throughout life. And the first one is the Gharbadana Samskara. Purifying the garba or the womb in order for a qualified child to enter into the womb. And that begins the process of purification. So then there's a birth samskara, that's Janma samskara, and then we all know the first grains, the anaprast, like that. So there are 16 samskaras, but out of the 16, 7 remain prominent, and everyone must perform those 7. And these are passages of life that take you from one stage of life to another. Therefore, the Shastras do say, and repeated here by Srila Prabhupada, everyone is born Sudra in this age because no one follows the samskaras. And Prabhupada particularly points to the Gharbadana Samskara. And the Gharbadana Samskara is very much important in order to bring a good soul into the womb, because in this age, people just unite to have children without any prefatory. In fact, sometimes children come by just by sexual contact without any planning of any kind of, and then that kind of birth is called Varna Sankara. What is Varna Sankara? Well, the world is full of Varna Sankara today. That means that there are souls that come in from different levels of existence, sometimes even from the lower planets. When one doesn't follow carefully these different samskaras. And any soul can enter into the womb. And you see, sometimes we see actually, and of course, we have the example in Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna was encouraged to fight on behalf of religious principles by Sri Krishna. He gave a number of reasons why he didn't want to fight. And all of them were in line with Shastra. But one of the reasons he said is that, well, if all the men are destroyed, then the women are unprotected. If the women are unprotected, then there will be Vana Sankara in society. And as soon as Vana Sankara becomes prominent or starts to become more and more propagated, profuse, then everything goes down. So you see now, even now in the kids, they grow up, they're very violent by nature, some of these children. They kill their teachers, they kill their fellow students in the schools. They take to all kinds of bad activities, even at a very early age. Statistics show, especially in the United Kingdom, that by the time a kid is 11 years old, he has tried everything sinful. This is not something that we're just making up, it's an actual statistic. So because people don't understand or don't have any knowledge or don't make any attempt to understand what is the purpose of human life, people generally live basically according to the urges of animal nature. If you want to eat, you eat. If you want to have sex, you have sex. If you want to speak nasty to someone, you do that. In other words, everything is done by emotional urges or bodily urges. So this is, therefore, it is required that people come to a higher level of existence in order to understand how to live life and to achieve the goal of life. And therefore, when one takes shelter of the bona fide spiritual master, as Srila Prabhupada explains when he gives initiation, initiation means beginning. We are beginning, we're getting onto the path, beginning our sojourn back to Krishna in the spiritual world, back to our eternal home, away from this temporary material place which is full of miseries. And that first connection is called Harinama Initiation, where the spiritual master agrees to take part of the disciple's karma, not all of it, but part of it. And initiation initiates him into chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and following certain principles. After some time, when one is seen to be qualified in making advancement, one starts to develop certain characteristics which are in the mode of goodness. Observed by the spiritual master, he sees that this person is ready for the next stage, and therefore that person becomes qualified to take second initiation, or we call it Brahminical Initiation. And then, as Prabhupada mentions, then that person is qualified to worship the deity in the temple in the services of cooking for the Lord and doing the, what we say, puja, the various types of altar activities in relationship to the Lord. Prabhupada makes that point in the purport here. So simply to take birth and simply to take birth in a good family doesn't make one qualified simply by birth. This is a contention that is still going on today, but years ago it was even more prominent that people were designated according to class. Now they have used another word called caste. Caste is somebody's mental speculation. There's no such word as caste system. It's class. Caste is something It's another meaning. So when one is born, one is doesn't mean one becomes qualified according to the type of birth they take, even if it's an elevated birth. One has to show the symptoms. So there is janma and there's karma. Janma means birth and karma means activities, and activities indicate certain characteristics of the living being. So one has to show by activities what are the qualifications one has, and by those qualifications one can be classified according to the 4 class systems: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. Of course, in the Krishna consciousness movement, as Srila Prabhupada began the movement, he was educating people to come to the standard of Brahman. In other words, the second initiation was called Brahminical Initiation, and that was the goal for people to aspire for in order to practice Krishna consciousness completely. As we mentioned earlier, the spiritual master takes part of the sinful reactions of the disciple on the first initiation, and only when the second initiation occurs do the remaining amount of disciples' sinful reactions become, what we say, nullified, and therefore one can practice devotional service free from one's past karma. And that allows this devotee to make faster progress on the path of devotional service. That is the mercy of Krishna coming through the spiritual master. But everything here comes back to one point: one has to be trained. There must be training in Brahminical culture, because Brahminical culture is human culture. Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam in many verses, I was just reading that today, in the 9th canto, that if Brahminical culture is not given prominence within a society, then the whole society will gravitate down to lower and lower standards of existence. So what is that Brahminical culture? We understand from Shastra what are the characteristics and activities of a Brahmana. Patan, patan, yajan, yajan, dana, pratigraha. Let me say one thing before we continue on, is that we are those in devotion in Krishna consciousness, we are above the Brahminical category, because Brahman is within the Varnashram system, and therefore it is considered to be material. It is the best of all material situations, but still it's material. As the mode of goodness is also the best, but is still within the material energy. So devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness must be trained in the qualities that are characteristics of Brahminical activity, and then engaged in devotional service. Because as Prabhupada says here, even if one is a Brahmin, he cannot deliver himself if he is not initiated, after attaining to the Brahminical platform by process of initiation, then one has to perform devotional service to the Lord in the mood or within the context of developing and practicing the qualities of the mode of goodness, which eventually lead one to Sudasattva, which is the transcendental platform where one performs the activities that are completely spiritual and beyond all of the categories of the Varna and Ashram like that. So Varna and Ashram are a stepping stone to spiritual practice. But nowadays, because no one can sort out what is actually one's Varna anymore, how do we understand one's Varna? Then we more or less engage people according to their different tendencies and natures, observe that, and then engage that according to those qualifications or qualities. And that way one may be doing the work of a Sudra, or a Vaishya, or a Kshatriya, or a Brahmin, but if they're engaged in devotional service, then that is transcendental. Now that is above the Varnashram system. As Lord Chaitanya said, Gopi Bharta Padavikamalayur Dasa Dasa Anudasa. I'm not Brahmin, I'm not Kshatriya, I'm not Vaishya, I'm not Sudra, I'm not Brahmachari, I'm not Grihastha, I'm not Vanaprastha, I'm not Sannyas. What am I? I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the damsels of Raj. So what he's actually saying is that we are actually engaged in various activities, but we are above all these activities because devotional service is on the spiritual platform. And unless one gets initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, their spiritual activities are just in what is called the the uh, the seed stage. Just like when you plant a seed into the ground, if the ground is fertile, then the seed is there, and the watering process gradually brings a little sprout. As the sprout grows, then buds from the plant start to come. As the buds increase, they start to bloom, and then finally they come into full bloom, and that is the beautiful flower that comes. So all of our devotees are beautiful flowers, but they're also in different stages of development as a plant is in different stages. So the watering process is hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord under the guidance of the direction of Krishna's representative, the bona fide spiritual master. So we want to have to understand that one birth is not enough. One has to take second birth, and eventually one has to come to the stage of third birth, which is Brahminical Initiation, in order to complete the process. When Prabhupada was asked, is it important for second initiation, he gave the example of a student going to school, and he said there's different grades within the school. So the student, he's in one grade or she's in one grade and she's learning the subject. She becomes qualified and passes and then moves to the next. In the same way, we have to go from first initiation to eventually qualify ourselves for second initiation, and then ultimately become fully Krishna conscious like that. Of course, there is another initiation, and that is generally for those who take the sannyas order of life. And so that's another level of initiation, the sannyas order of life, like that. And then one dedicates their life, doesn't get involved with any worldly activities, and simply preaches the glories of the Lord by traveling through different places around the world. So here, the idea is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. In other words, to make the Supreme Lord happy by our activities. And so the preliminaries are set here. And one has to get initiated by the spiritual master. So we all should think, where am I now? Am I initiated or not initiated? And so the first step in moving in that direction is to seek out the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, and that is called aspiring for initiation. And that is a preliminary stage where, as it's mentioned in the Srila Hari Bhakti Vilas, that in that scripture it mentions that during this period before initiation and taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, there is mutual, what's the word Prabhupada uses? Mutual, I don't know, he uses an interesting word. Mutual evaluation. That's the, in In other words, the spiritual master observes to see if the devotee is qualified and is becoming qualified. And the disciple observes to see if this person is actually my spiritual master. Do I want to accept this person as my spiritual master? And so there is a mutual testing. That was Prabhupada said, mutual testing. One should test the spiritual master by asking relevant questions. The spiritual master should also test the aspiring devotee by giving them certain services to carry out, just to test their quality of surrender and dedication to the process. Okay, so we learn a lot from this verse. It's really one we could speak on this verse from different angles of vision. It's such a very diverse verse in the sense that it covers a lot of areas, but the main area is that one has to come to the stage of devotional service by following the process as mentioned here. Okay, so we'll stop here and see if there's any comments or questions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for enlightening us about the sanskaras, which are so important. And the most important thing I learned today that you said that as we progress in our material life from grade 1 to grade 2, similarly, we should go to the second initiation after the first, because after the first we sometimes becomes like, okay, it will take time to get second, but we should try to go to the second level as we try to progress in the material world. Similarly, we should try to progress in the spiritual life also. So thank you so
Yeah.
much, Maharaj. Yeah. So yeah, it gives me a hope that I will try to progress myself. So thank you so much, Maharaj. And now I will request devotees, if they have any questions, they can ask now.
I will pose a question and see what devotees respond to. What causes one to hesitate or to block or to feel a little hesitant of accepting a spiritual master? What are the things that we face that causes us to be a little bit reluctant, hesitant, doubtful from accepting a bona fide spiritual master? What are the things where we get challenged by that causes us to remain where we are?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Manisha, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
For me, the biggest fear is, what I spoke to last time I asked a question, like not being able to carefully and qualitatively fulfill all of the vows and serve my Guru Maharaj to the utmost, best quality and care. That's my fear.
So one of the things that we understand is that whatever fear is based on what we estimate as a lack of dedication can also be overcome by association with devotees, and also through the process of educating oneself in the process of devotional service. In other words, understanding. So mostly through association and by taking direction in that association on the principles of devotional service. As we make a step towards Krishna, Krishna also responds by taking 10 steps towards us. In other words, he provides the opportunities for us to move forward as we make the effort on our level. So we don't see those opportunities coming until we actually start moving in that direction. And that's Krishna conscious, is that the mercy will come as we make the efforts. The qualifications come as we make the efforts.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, I joined late. Maharaj, my question is that, is it necessary to take second initiation?
Prabhupada answered that question when that was, and I have the actual quote, which is Prabhupada's response to the question. And it's the example we used, just like you go to school. You don't finish school by entering school. You have to go through the different grades. Only when you go through all the grades that you actually get your diploma. So in the same way, one has to complete the process. To give you a little historical background, initiation initially was only Brahmin initiation. And that goes back about 150 years, or maybe not, about 100 years or more. At the time of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta, people were claiming to become Brahmin just by putting on a thread or just by receiving some kind of initiation. So actually, Harinama initiation is more like a testing ground to show one's sincerity and qualities where they can complete the initiation process. So I believe it was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati who divided the initiation process into two. Before it was only one, and that was Brahminical Initiation. That was called Upanaya Samskara. And followed Srila Prabhupada, excuse me, Srila Prabhupada followed that process, knowing the age of Kali was like that. And I see that in my own experiences working with disciples. They take first initiation and they can't go forward. They get stuck there and they stay there for years, sometimes 10, 15 years without taking the next initiation. Because as Prabhupada said, when it comes to second initiation, we are very strict. We're a little bit more lenient when it comes to giving the first initiation. But then again, we have to observe how that person is responding in terms of taking the instructions and making advancement. So we find people sometimes take first initiation and then they don't move. They just somehow or other vacillate on the level. And so therefore the GBC, the Governing Body Commission of the ISKCON Society, about 3 or 4 years ago, made it a requirement that in order to receive second initiation in ISKCON, one should have Bhakti Shastra accreditations. That means one has to go through the educational process of studying and taking tests and receiving a accreditation based on one's efforts. So yeah. Yeah, Brahminical initiation is the complete initiation.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
Is that okay?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
Okay. You have anything to say in response?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Maharaj Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Like Prabhu, I am not yet initiated. So like how to find the Guru? I am not yet initiated.
Find Guru.
So how do we find the perfect Guru whom should we like approach and get initiated? How do we get that perfect affinity towards the Guru, and how do we get initiated?
The process of finding a spiritual master. Well, of course, it says that when the candidate is ready, Krishna will send you the Guru. It says that when you look for Krishna, Krishna sends himself in the form of the spiritual master who then brings you to Krishna. So there's an eagerness that has to be there that I want to make a solution to all the problems of life. I want to go back to Godhead. If I understand that one has to take a spiritual master. So if you come to that platform of eagerness, if you don't have that eagerness, then it's not going to happen. You have to be eager, very eager. And that eagerness can be awakened in the association of devotees. So in the association of devotees, we become inspired to take the process. That's why Rupa Goswami used to say, Sadao Srada Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya. In the 9 stages of bhakti, he mentions the first. I mentioned the first 3. Adao Strada. Strada means faith. Sadhu Sangha means association of devotees, and Bhajana Kriya means taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and working under his guidance. That is the 3rd stage, and that is the beginning where we can get to the next stage, anartha nivritti, getting rid of all of our unwanted habits that are blocking our path to pure love of God. So how do you find a spiritual master? Well, in the association of devotees, it becomes easy. Right now, we're not able to associate so much due to this particular time period we're in. So one thing you can do is associate by hearing from different persons who are spiritual masters and listening very carefully to their vakya, their words, and getting inspired accordingly. So after carefully hearing for a period of time, maybe 6 months to a year, one starts to understand, oh, this person seems to be the person who I'd like to take shelter of. In other words, you start to understand through your own experience that this person is awakening in you through his words the desire to serve the Lord. Krishna himself makes a very clear statement in the Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter. He said, Tad vidipatipatena paripasyena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnanina tadvadarshanaha. Approach a bona fide spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, rendering service. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge to you because he has seen the truth. So 3 principles are mentioned there. Pranipat, Paripraseva, and Sevaya. Pranipat means falling flat, humble. One cannot approach a bona fide spiritual master if one is proud of one's position. One has to approach in a mood of humility, and pariprasnena means inquiring. One has to ask relevant questions, and then one has to be eager to serve, and that is called sevaya. So if we study that verse, 434 in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's purport outlines all the details. And Krishna in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in instructing Uddhava, gives the same instructions in a more complete form. But back to the simple answer. The simple answer is to hear from various persons who are in the position to represent. In other words, they are bona fide spiritual masters. So in an ISKCON society, we have many, more than 150, maybe 200 persons who are in that role of accepting disciples. And you don't have to choose someone in your local area. You can choose anyone who you feel inspired by. But it takes some time to get that inspiration clear. So therefore, extended hearing is required. One should hear regularly for a long time.
Thank you, Maharaj. That was really helpful. And the spiritual master should be a, can he be a grihastha, or should he be a senior master, or like any like
Yeah,
difference in terms of experience and
yeah.
age?
A spiritual master can be a grihastha. He can be a sannyas. He can even be a brahmachari. He can be any one of those three ashrams. We have devotees who are grihastas, who are spiritual masters. We have many grihastas in our ISKCON society. Most of our spiritual masters are sannyas, and we even have a few brahmacharis.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it's like we mentioned, it's not about the position within the ashram. It's about
Yes,
qualifications.
yes.
So there shouldn't be any fear because you have this testing period for 1 year or more where you can test your spiritual master and see if that person is the person you want to take initiation from. Because Srila Rupa Goswami clearly explains in Nectar of Devotion that the first stage is aspiring for the spiritual master, taking shelter. Initiation is the second stage. It's not the first.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Sangha Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, about the second initiation, sometimes, when there is no temple or there is no deities, so generally people don't recommend second initiation because first question they ask is because there are no deities, you don't do any deity worship, why you want to take second initiation? That question also comes sometimes from the temple authorities. So how do devotees takes that, Maharaj? How do we take that one?
Well, Prabhupada commented on that. That's not the reason for taking second initiation. There's a discussion, and I remember the discussion Prabhupada said. He said sometimes we give, one devotee was saying to Prabhupada, we give second initiation because the temples need a pujari or someone Brahminical Initiation. Prabhupada said, not like that. That is not the qualification nor the reason. But we might say what the temple authority says, doing Brahminical service. So preaching is also Brahminical service. So one can also preach. And but the temples think, well, we don't have any need, but that doesn't help the aspiring devotee. The need of the temple doesn't really help the devotee go to the next stage. So we give Brahminical, but then one has to develop Brahminical qualities before or while they're going through that stage. So Brahminical qualities are really the indication whether a person is ready for second initiation or not. In other words, they should be initiated for some period of time, and then they're showing the qualities of a Brahmana. And what are the qualities? And that's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, the 18th chapter, Samo Dhammo Tathas Saucham, like that. Peacefulness, austerity, cleanliness, simplicity, knowing the scriptures, be able to understand the knowledge that one is reading. In other words, jnana vijnana, astakam, brahmakarma sabhavajam, religiousness. Yeah, samudhamas tapao saucham shantri arjameva jnana vijnanam astakam brahmakarma sabhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control. That means controlling the mind and senses. Peaceful, not disturbed by the changing of the material energy. Austerity, performing the recommended austerities that are given in the Shastras, austerities of the mind, austerities of the body, austerities of speech. Purity, in other words, motivation towards devotional service is the main thing. Tolerance, honesty, not sophistry, honesty. Knowledge and wisdom and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. And in the Sanat Sujata, 4 more qualities are added onto those. So in that particular treatise, 12 are mentioned. But 3 more are given.
So then Maharaj, follow-up question is like sometimes, we see people are, kind of preaching or doing some seva, then, they go and take second initiation and all of a sudden they just stop doing services. There's no motivation in them. And the people who are behind them, looking at them, they think, okay, you just can take initiation and just do whatever you want. You just no need to be so active in devotional service. That demotivates the devotees who are looking at them. And the temple authorities also get the second thought. Do we recommend other people for second initiation or not? Because we already recommended this set of people and not everybody is doing devotional service. They just stopped it after taking initiation, deity services or anything. So then how do we balance that between the devotees who took it and not doing as per the expectations, and devotees who are motivated but demotivated by looking at them?
Yeah, one should not be punished because of someone else's failures. That's not. We have to judge each person individually, and we also have to be, as leaders, we have to open up the opportunities for people to do the service and create those services or offer those services. So I remember when I was at New Vrindavan, we had 42 deities. Every day we had to dress. 42 deities. We had 6 sects of Jagannath. We had 4 sets of Radha Krishna. We had 4 sets of Gaur Nitai. We had Nathji. We had Shalagram. We had Govardhan. We had Prahlad Nrsimha. And still there, but not as many deities. So one of the things we were doing is we were canvassing for devotees who were second initiated to come forward and take on some service. But it's up to the devotees to do it. And so if they take a second initiation and they're not performing the activities of a Brahmin, then as they say, what is the use, Again, we come back to Janma and Karma, or we come to that one is judged by their qualifications and their activities, not simply by their designated position. A person can have a position, but that doesn't mean that they're qualified. They have to show, according to that position, their qualifications and their activities. That's the indication. So it's up to the temple authorities to evaluate that and then to inspire people to come forward. And people who don't want to come forward after being initiated, what can we do? We can try to somehow or other find ways to get them involved again, but ultimately it's up to them. You know? And you know, even the point of first initiation, if you're first initiated and you're not following your initiation vows, you're not initiated. You may have a name, you may have your remembrance of your ceremony, but in essence, you're not initiated because you're not performing the activities that require you to be considered initiated. You can wear whatever you want to wear, but you have to show. That's what really is the criteria for understanding. So we shouldn't be try to punish people or not, or what we say, don't allow people who are sincere because of what happened previously by others. That doesn't really balance out. Each person has to be given an opportunity accordingly.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
But
So
what makes it easy is training. If devotees are not trained, then a lot of times they can't come up to the standard. Nice to meet you again, Braja Bhakti. My obeisances to you. Hare
thank you so
Krishna.
much, Maharaj. So happy to see you. I'm waiting. When will you come to Columbus again? It's been so long, Maharaj. So happy
Columbus.
to see you.
There's a lot of Columbuses on the map. I'm thinking which one.
Columbus, Ohio, Maharaj, please.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you, Guru Maharaj. After getting Brahman initiation, we get lot of responsibility, and we have to be very serious about all the devotional service.
Yeah, devotional service is serious business. It's the most serious thing. It's not something that we should take whimsically or lightly. We have been in the material world for how many thousands of births, maybe even millions, and we're still suffering. Life after life, mitche maya lavase, kachu he bebu bai, kachu beise cha bubu bai, Jeev Krishna Das, hey Vishwash, Kalidana Dukanai, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings this song. How many lives would we just suffering in these waves of material energy? Once in a while, we get a good position somewhere within the material energy, but then again, that changes. As Prabhupada said, you may be a human being in this life, but you never know what your next life will be. So in order to get out of this cycle of birth and death, disease, old age, miseries coming from higher powers, miseries coming from other living entities, miseries coming from our own body and mind. The world is connected, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Dukalayam ashashvatam, that this place is temporary and it's miserable. So yeah, it's a miserable place. Unless we understand, I think it's not really hard to understand that. It's a miserable place. We want to be free, but we can't be. We want to be happy, but there's so many things that will interfere with our becoming happy. We want to love, but at the same time, we can't even find people who will accept our love. It's just a very difficult place to live. It's not meant. We are here just to make a solution to the problems. We are here to learn how to get out of here. Just like when you're put into a jail, you do your time, and that becomes your rectification, and then you're set free. So the jail of material life is reforming our mentality of being averse to Krishna, and now getting back to Krishna through the process of devotional service. We can stay here as long as we want. There's no limit how long you can stay. But there's no limit also how fast you can get out. You can also get out very fast if you're determined. We just have to become sincere and serious, that's all. If you're sincere, it's not a matter of qualifications, it's a matter of sincerity. If you're really sincere, I want to go back to Godhead, I want to love Krishna, then as soon as you make that vow and you work towards that, Krishna will do amazing things to bring you there. He'll make it easy for you if you become determined.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much for your class. It was very, very instructive. Someone is asking question on the chat box. Flavor Mataji, would you like to read your own question?
Yes, Mataji, I'm so sorry. Please accept my humble obeisances, Maharaj. I wanted to ask, if we are seeking initiation, is there some place special that we should be looking to know who we should start listening to to see who we may be connecting with? Because there's so many different teachers and speakers, but how will we know who exactly is someone that is a spiritual master? Is there some site maybe we can initially go to and start to listen to these particular swamis to know?
Well, on our ISKCON media, there are devotees who are in that position who are speaking every day, giving classes, writing books, and preaching in different ways. So we need to see who we feel inspired by, that's all. And there's where you start. So I recommend that devotees find at least maybe two, the most three different persons and hear from those three. And gradually start to understand and then eventually come to that person who you feel is your spiritual master. But the point is, we shouldn't waste time trying to think about this all the time. We're not in a hurry to get initiated, but we're in a hurry to find a shelter. Once we find shelter, then the initiation process will unfold naturally.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, and so there are so many devotees every day are giving classes online all over the ISKCON world. You just have to, tune into that.
Yes.
And there's many who have written books too. You can read their books.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. thank you for this, again, another wonderful lecture stressing the importance of initiation, taking shelter, following the process, becoming sincere and serious. My question is, what if we have Kshatriya qualities? What if we are fiery, we are determined, we are energetic, we are not quiet, peaceful, this, that, not Brahminical? Can we still take Brahminical initiation? And if we do we have to change into a Brahmana after that?
No, no. It's up to the spiritual master, and by observing the devotee, how to engage the devotee. You have to remember, devotional service is above the four varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya. So if one has Kshatriya tendencies, then they can serve in that way. If one has Brahminical tendencies, they can serve in that way. If one has Vaishya tendencies, they can serve in that way. So how you serve is your connection with Krishna, according to how best you can serve. And that is given by the spiritual master or given by the temple authorities. This is something that needs to be worked out. But still, everyone has to take second initiation, Brahminical initiation. So some will work as a Brahmana, some will serve as a Kshatriya, some will serve as a Vaishya. Because this is Daivi Varnashram, it's not just material Varnashram. Daivi means transcendental. All you have to do is listen to Prabhupada's lectures on this. The best lecture that I found, the most inspiring, was it's a morning, I think it's a morning walk conversation. March 14th, 1974 in Vrindavan. And he's mostly discussing with one devotee, Hridayananda Maharaj. And then again, Prabhupada made other lectures similar. He talks about the whole system of development. But wherever you are, just do some service, that's all.
I think I'm a mixture of Kshatriya and Brahmana, Guru Maharaj. So which aspect should be stressed on?
We'll talk about that some other time.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. You mentioned to listen to 2 or 3 devotees' lectures, and it's important when someone is looking for a spiritual master, or it can cause any confusion in the future if someone listens to many devotees.
Too many. Yeah, one should also listen to Srila Prabhupada along with his disciples too. If you listen to Prabhupada, everything will be clear, and then you'll be able to understand your spiritual master easily. As we mentioned, and this is a fact, when the disciple's ready, the guru appears. Then you have to recognize.
I see. I'm just still confused that in my case, for example, if I listen, maybe I have 3 or 4 or 5 different devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, whom I like their classes. So is it too much? So I should focus more on Srila Prabhupada, or just few, I mean, not so many of them, or?
Well, it's better if you focus more on less because you'll get more that way. This is just the restless mind going everywhere, that's all.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Someone is asking how to contact you. Maybe they might be aspiring from you.
Lavanya, you're there today? Or Radha Bhakti is there also. Radha Bhakti, you're there? I saw Radha Bhakti's name before. I don't see it.
Yeah, the question came from Shriya Kalaria.
Radha Bhakti or Lavanya, either one.
Mataji, the person who asked the question is not in the call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone, whoever knows my email, and if you know that person, you can give the email.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavad Pranam. Thank you for such an important class. It is a very good constant reminder for us. Maharaj, I have a question.
Please, yeah.
Okay. So Maharaj, what should we give more importance to? Our own personal sadhana or services?
Well, sadhana is the principle which is that inspires one in the direction of one's service. That's fundamental. And it's also the foundation for purification. Sadhana is hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And service means to carry out certain duties in relationship to one's instructions given by the spiritual master or by the temple authorities. Or if you are living at home, then you have your service there. But for those who emphasize sadhana over service, they can also stagnate and not make enough advancement because service actually helps us to develop the qualities that we need in order to approach Krishna. And such as humility, tolerance, and a desire to please the Lord. In other words, by service, we're actually offering our energy, time, and abilities to connect with the Lord. Sadhana is hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And so if we emphasize service over sadhana, after some time, and it may also happen, it does happen, one will see their activities as simply a burden. In other words, it'll become a chore. So more or less, service is more or less an emanation of the quality of our sadhana. When sadhana is good, then our service is strong also. We might like to do things, and that's just our nature, but that won't last in the long run if we don't hear and chant nicely the glories of the Lord. We'll start to slip from the quality of our service.
Thank you so much.
There should be a healthy balance between both of them.
Yes. Yes, that's a perfect answer, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam. Very, very inspiring class. Srila Prabhupada Sulagurudev Ki Jai. Thank you Maharaj, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Koti Koti Dandavats.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I just wanted to say thank you for such a beautiful class. It's always so special on Fridays to be in class with you because you have such a lovely way of explaining things and making them very clear. So thank you very much. I very much appreciate your classes. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. My obeisances to you. I'm glad you are coming every Friday. And probably every day. Okay, so if there's no more questions, we can.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj, there is a one question on chat box. It's asking, can we do cooking seva at the temple even though we don't have second initiation?
You can cook at home, but cooking in the temple, as Prabhupada says, should be his second initiation. At home you can do, no problem.
We cannot cook for temple deities, right, Maharaj?
That's what Prabhupada said. He set that standard. Some temples have lowered the standard, but that's not Prabhupada's instructions. Prabhupada felt that these instructions were so important that he included them into a Srimad Bhagavatam verse. Cooking for the Lord has to be, the consciousness has to be very, very developed. If you're cooking for the Lord and you actually start to think in any way that I can't wait to taste this, then you're not qualified to cook.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, cooking for the Lord means it's for the pleasure of the Lord, and if the Lord is merciful, then he will offer some prasad to me. But one should not even think like that. One should just focus on trying to make it as nice as they can and according to how best everything should be done. The atmosphere should be very clean. We should be very clean. And that means we should be fresh. And at the same time, we should also understand what to prepare for Krishna according to the different times of the days. Rajabhakara Vatsala Shiguro Hari, Story Gosta Bihari, Nanda Yasoda Chitta Hari, Belo Holo Damodara Hoiste Akono, Luchi Chini Saras Puri Lado Rasabali. So that song, Bhajabhakara Vatsal, is a beautiful song. When I used to do deity worship in New Vrindavan, I would put the offering onto the altar and come out and say my Gayatri, and then we would sing that song together with a few other devotees. Bhajabhakara Vatsala Shigoro. Because Krishna is taking his Rajbhog, and so on Rajbhog should be the biggest offering. And so we sing that beautiful bhajan. So it's Krishna's eating, as he said, Asnami Vayatattvaraha, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, Yome Bhakta Pranasyati, Taraham Bhakta Uparitam Asnami. Prabhupada translates that word Asnami to I eat. You offer, and I eat it. He's eating. He's eating. He's actually eating. But Krishna's senses are interchangeable, so he can eat with his eyes. He doesn't have to eat like we eat. He can eat with any of the senses of the body, but he's eating when the offering is done to his with devotion.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for wonderful class, Maharaj. We can't, those who are not initiated, Brahmin initiated, they can't cook, but they can help the devotees who are cooking in the temple, no, Maharaj?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that is true. And Prabhupada said everything should be cooked in ghee. That's another thing. Okay, so we'll stop here.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, some devotees, they are vegan, so how they can cook in ghee then? And also the ghee we use here is not ahimsa. It's coming from the cow, but the cow is going to get killed anyway later on, or her babies are going to get killed like that. So we are
Make your own ghee. That's all. Even if you have to buy,
yeah,
if you have
but
to buy butter from the store, make your own ghee.
no, but that butter is coming not ahimsa. That's why we use lot of ghee in temples. That's what I see, and all the ghee is coming from the store, and
Do
all
you know
the
the GBC resolution?
what's that?
The GBC has given a resolution last year that all temples all over the world by the year 2022, then by Gaur Purnima 2022, should be offering only ahimsa products like milk, cheese, ghee. That's a
Wow.
resolution. Yeah. So that's
Hey,
a
Hari
resolution.
Bol. That's what I want, Maharaj. I want my own cow. Everybody has their own cell phone, their own house. Everything is personal, but cow is not personal. And cow is supposed to be one person is having, at least should have one cow
I can,
personal.
some people might not like what I'm going to say, but I'll say it anyway. And that is that your Gita Nagari farm, they are marketing the milk from the cows that they have, and they have an industry, and they're sending milk all over the United States. The only problem is it's very expensive. So devotees are a little bit, and even some of the temples are
Yeah.
hesitant to buy it because it's expensive. But if you want quality, pay for it. And the money's going to devotees anyway, so you can contribute to devotional service by spending your money. Maybe it's a little bit more than you expect, but you'll get quality, and at the same time, you can support their efforts to make more and more milk and milk products. So Gita Nagari is doing it.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj. I went to Kitanagiri. We stayed there for a week. But the question is, they are selling the milk as it is. They just take the milk from cow and they just sell it. There is no way they can get the ghee. The ghee we are using in the temples or in our preparation, it's way more. It needs lot of milk. Actually, what the stores they do, they separate ghee and milk, and they sell the milk separately, and they sell the ghee separately. But Gita Nagari cannot do that. It's a big process, and that's not, that's not supposed to do in Vedic culture. Vedic culture, in like we just give the milk as it is, and then we make ghee in the kitchen like that. So So Gita Nagari cannot sell ghee. That much ghee Gita Nagari cannot supply. We talked to them, and we just wanted to take ghee and go. They said this is not ahimsa ghee, whatever you are getting here. They also means demand it so much. They have to take the butter from store and make the ghee and then sell.
No, Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Prem Kishori. Guru Maharaj, Gita Nagari is my second home. May I please address this, if you allow?
Go ahead.
So, Guru Maharaj, first is the expense of the price of the products is high because, and I work with them, so I know that the price of the milk products are cheaper in the market because those dairy farms are collaborating with the slaughterhouses. So the price is distributed between the meat of the cow and the product that the cow is giving. That is how the price is reduced in the market for other milk and milk products. Nagri is not doing it. Nagri is independently functioning and not collaborating with any slaughterhouse anywhere in the whole world. That is why we absorb the whole price. And the prices are very reasonable. If actually it should be higher, but because of because we want to cater, it's, if you really do the math, it is cheaper. Based on that, we are not collaborating with any third party. Second is the butter and ghee. The Nagri, if the whole world is going to support the eco farms, we can have enough number of cows to have enough number of milk, to have enough amount of ghee for everyone. We were making ghee few years ago, but the demand for organic and ahimsa milk went so sky high that we have around 21 milking cows right now, and the demand is sky high. Some people, there are, Dhruva Prabhu was telling the other day, there are about 100 people in the wait list waiting for their even first supply of milk bottle. There's so much demand. So if we can support the Gitanagari farm, we can have more than 21 milking cows, and we can have the butter, and we can. And Gitanagari milk is pasteurized, but if you boil it, it gives enough number of cream. I will be so happy to send the picture of the cream that is stored in my freezer and how much milk can be made. So we are making ghee, but it's only enough for Radha Damodar right now. But if we can have more cows, we can have enough milk. We can churn the cream out of the milk, and we can make the ghee for everyone. Just needs the support.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what Mataji I was saying, that ghee is not enough for everyone. It's a, but deities they give ahimsa milk, their own ghee they give to Radha Damodar. I saw that.
Yeah, if we give them support, then they'll expand more and more. That's the main thing. Yeah, so we're moving in that direction, and Gitanagari is leading the way, but we need to somehow or other inspire other farms to do the same thing. Yeah, we're still in the process. So when it comes to us, we just have to make a little sacrifice and pay a little bit more. But as Prem Kishori was saying, the demand is so high that they can't keep up with it. So,
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
for those who don't know, Prem Kishori works in Gitanagari regularly and stayed there for many years, working with the whole project. Okay, so we'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Hi, Krishna Guru Maharaj. So sorry to interrupt. Can Prema Kisori Mataji or anyone please post a link, Guru Maharaj, on your Facebook page, the donation, how I can give donation for Gita Nagari cow farm?
Prem Kishori can help with that.
Guru Maharaj, I'll send it in the email, the CMS conference email. Is it okay?
I don't get that email. Please request Lavanya Mataji to add me. Hare Krishna.
We can add you to the conference. That's not a problem.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Haribol.
Thank you. Okay. Dandavats to all the devotees. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And tomorrow on our regular daily call, we'll be talking about Srila Prabhupada's vision for ISKCON, which a lot of it we touched on today. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Dandvat Maharaj.
Okay, so thank you so much, devotees, for joining. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving your valuable association. So we will offer obeisances to Maharaj now. Vancham kalparubhishya kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anant koti vaishnavandiki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Dandvat Pranam.